Growing up, I wanted to be so many things. A firefighter, a teacher, a social worker. I guess I've always wanted to help others. In my first year at the school-wide camps and house activities, I met my closest group of friends who definitely helped me find my bearings. This was also when I met my assigned mentor who, till this day, remains a confidant and is always ready to listen. Oh, and I'll never forget the day I put on my very first white coat. Phase 2, let's go! Here, we start getting equipped with the skills we need as medical professionals through our Clinical Foundational Skills course. But the learning doesn't just stop at figuring out how to set an IV drip or suturing. Many of us also take up leadership roles in community projects like our annual public health service. In my third and fourth year, I got to learn at various hospital teaching sites and rotated through the different fields as a part of the professional healthcare teams during the core clinical practice and acute and specialty clinical practice. We were also given the opportunity to propose our own electives. Some of us continued in clinical electives, but I chose my own learning journey at a farm in Germany to cultivate a sense of discipline and an understanding of organic chemistry. It was definitely a nice respite in the midst of med school. After passing our clinical exams in year 4, we got to step up in our roles in the student internship program and formally attached to the healthcare teams in hospitals and clinics. I could finally call the patients my patients, under strict supervision, of course. The unwavering commitment of the teams in delivering care on a daily basis was truly inspiring to me. After 5 years of hard work, I finally graduated and began my role as a house officer. Boy, was I glad that I was equipped with the perspectives, soft skills, and values I need to serve my patients and those around me. It's not easy bringing your best self to work every day. I'm thankful for all the great mentors who continue to support me and inspire me to pass it on. In medicine, no one is an island. It's your turn to chart your journey, always rooting for you.
Hi everyone, welcome to NUS Medicine's virtual open house. I'm Jeremiah, a second-year medical student, and we're all really happy to have you all here. So with me, you can see we have many doctors and students, but just before we begin, there'll be QR codes flashing on the screen, so if you have any questions, just feel free to send them in. So yeah, without further ado, can we get the panel to introduce themselves?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Zhi Xiong. I'm the Assistant Dean for Education. Well, maybe we'll all say something interesting about ourselves. So, I have 530 children. 527 are non-biological, 2 biological, and 1 furry. Now, before you all start imagining things, right, I'm actually the master of one of the hostel, where many medical students actually stay as well. Okay, so we know this is Tay weekend, so thank you for joining us.
And can we get Harpreet next?
All right, hi everyone, I'm Harpreet. I'm a year 3 medical student. One fun fact about myself is that when I first joined medicine, I was really interested in mountaineering, and I joined the mountaineering team and was exco for about 1 year as well. And we climbed a few mountains in India and in Nepal. So don't say med school has no social life and no life.
My turn. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Christy. I'm a pediatrician. I work in NUH. I'm also a clinical educator. With the Office for Students, I'm the core faculty. And one fun fact about myself, I have 2 dogs and 1 cat. Not like Zhi Xiong, but I love them very much.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So we have a very interesting panel today. So I think the first thing that many people applying will be curious is they've heard about the new curriculum. There's the second year. I've not get the chance to experience it, but maybe we can hear from the profs what do you think about it.
Sure. Maybe I'll start by highlighting the key features of the enhanced curriculum. I think the first is that our students will get early clinical exposure in the curriculum. The second is that students will actually learn about each body system from the start to the end in terms of what's normal and then how it goes into the abnormal disease state. And then third is that students will actually be able to sort of learn a broader diversity of disciplines and subjects. Some of the subjects to note will be social determinants of health, for example, data and digital literacy, as well as we are launching a new minor. In fact, we already launched a new minor in bioinformatics and as well as artificial intelligence. And then the other things that students might be interested is also how we have sort of sequence and the way we conduct our assessment, especially towards the later years. And that might be something of interest to incoming students. And last but not least, because of the broader diversity of learning, our medical students now also have the opportunity to learn with students from other health professions, such as nursing, pharmacy, dentistry, and because of that, maybe they have a greater chance to find their future happiness. But for now, maybe, let's also hear from our faculty and students about, how do they experience the enhanced curriculum from their perspectives.
Yeah, I think I can add. So I do teach medical students on a regular basis. And I also have mentees in year 1 and year 2. So definitely there is a difference. Like what Jeremiah said, he doesn't really have experienced the enhanced curriculum. And then from the year 1 and year 2, because they do mentor each other and also share with one another, they do say that there's a clear difference. I think the main point is really to integrate what we are supposed to learn compared to before, where we kind of split the medical school into preclinical versus clinical. I think they are allowing more clinical exposure in year 1, which I think is really good. Because I think after all, a student would need to know what they are going to become, and that is really becoming a doctor. Yeah, that's my perspective. Yeah.
What about you, Harpreet?
For my case, I just like Jeremiah, I also haven't really experienced the new curriculum, except that one good thing that they've done is that they've pushed forward the MBBS final exam over. It's half a year earlier now. The reason this is good, even though it may seem like, oh, now we have to study a lot harder, a lot earlier, is good because then you can do your student internship program and practice in hospitals as a house officer, like the practice for house officer, without any stress of studying for the exam alongside it. So you truly understand what it's like as a junior doctor and what you would be doing, as opposed to doing half of that and half of your time spent studying, and it's a little bit it clouds your mind a little bit.
Right. I heard that's really popular with the students. And I think back on Dr. Christie's point about bringing the clinical exposure early, I think we also want to reinforce some of the medical science concepts, right? Again, back in the clinical years where there are appropriate times and opportunities to do so. So eventually we aim towards a curriculum that's almost hard to distinguish what are so-called preclinical or clinical, but it is really one continuum for the 5 years. Jeremiah, any experience yourself?
Well, I mean, it's obviously a new curriculum, something that we look at the juniors and we see them going through it. So I guess us as seniors looking at them go through it, I think we may be a bit jealous of the new stuff that they get. But it's also really nice to see the schools change in perspective, seeing how they want to integrate. It's really understanding that, hey, we're here to be doctors, so let's get that in from day one. But on that note, actually getting quite a few questions here on, yes, they come in, they understand the responsibility of being a doctor. So how do they ensure that they set themselves right from the start? Or how do they succeed in med school? Maybe I get Dr. Christie to go first.
Yeah, I think everyone's success, at least this is my belief, I think everyone's success is ultimately defined by themselves. So I would say that our students, we have so many students, right? So I think our students all have a vision of what they want to become. Sometimes it's not that apparent, to be honest. When I first entered medical school, I think it's really hard to envision what you want to become. So whatever that I was carrying into medical school, and that could be like, for Harpreet, he was climbing. For myself, I was very much into sports when I was back some time ago when I was entering medical school. And then that kind of formed whatever that we wanted to achieve. Plus, I wanted to become a doctor. A lot of our students are highly motivated and they are highly passionate about why they want to become doctors. And I think the biggest thing that I can give to my mentees in terms of maintaining success or becoming successfully a doctor would be to just always remember the core reasons why you wanted to do medicine. Yeah, it may change a little bit, like it may morph a little bit. Like for myself, I always wanted to be a doctor. Then after that, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then I wanted to become an intensivist. And then now I really want to be a good educator. So it may evolve a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think nothing takes away, for me at least, the reason why I'm here, which is really for the patient at the end of the day. Yeah.
So the question being how to
How do you succeed or set yourself up for med school?
Okay. I think starting on in year one, when everyone comes in, everyone rushes into this like, oh, we need to do well, we need to get our distinctions, we need to strive to do really, really well. And they didn't forget, like as Dr. Christie mentioned, she also was an avid sportsman. They didn't forget what makes them them, like what your unique identity is. And you can't lose that in your pursuit of perfection in that sense. Because over time, it gets quite repetitive, I have to say. And at an year 3 level, we're almost the end of year 3, I can say that I don't regret not studying enough in M1. I don't say that I should have gone back to M1, I should have memorized everything. Because in medicine, things recur, and you will have a chance to revise and repeat over and over again. So there's no right way to start out medicine. I will not say there's a right way, but I would say keep your personality throughout.
Maybe I can also add to say that, want to commend to our would-be applicants. It's, we're not sure, how in the past years or decades of school life, how you have been sort of brought up to understand success. But one thing we'd like to share with you is that when you come into the medical school, or NUS for the matter, I think as a school, as an institution, the way we recognize success is definitely changing and evolving. And by doing that, we hope that eventually, what's actually important is how our student, how you will actually recognize your own success, right? So, if you're good in research, that's recognized as success. If you're good in poetry, that's recognized as success. If you're good in baking a bread, right, to share with your colleagues or your patients, is that recognized as success? And I think fundamentally, like what Dr. Christie shared, right, it's the heart and the spirit behind it. And I think, one of the things I think we hope our students really take away is, being a kind colleague, being a collaborative colleague, treating our patients with respect and dignity and really caring for their healing process. I think all that should be defined as success. And that's what I think from the school perspective, right, we try to recognize that so that eventually you can recognize that yourself.
Yeah. Actually, can I add to that? Because I realized when coming into the clinical years and being in the hospitals a lot more, having a personality and having like different hobbies allows you to actually connect with patients a lot better, especially patients that have similar hobbies to you. And you're not just having a transactional conversation anymore about taking a history and finding out what's wrong with them, but you're actually engaging with them. And I think patients also appreciate this a lot more coming from doctors with their own unique personalities. Yeah.
I think everyone here is just really passionate. We all came in for a reason. I think it's important to remember your why medicine, but not lose yourself in the process. But on that note, I think a lot of students watching, maybe it's their dream since the day they were born, they want to be doctors. But there is a considerable cost coming to medical school. So maybe I hear a perspective on some of the ways that the school can help them.
Well, there are many, I think, sort of different avenues and channels, both at the school level and at the university level, right, to support deserving applicants, right, and students who are facing certain sort of financial difficulty. So I guess in a sort of general way, I would say that this is the assurance generally that I give to students and not just to med school, but to NUS or even the hostel. Don't let financial difficulties get in the way of where you want to apply, what you want to do, and so on, right? So if there are any challenges, I think, do share with us, do open up, because if sometimes when students don't share, we don't know. And then we find out later on, and then we realize that, oh, actually, we could have done this, and so on. But if you don't share, we don't know. But if you share, I would I think I'm confident enough to give the assurance to say that nobody who's deserving would be denied simply because of financial challenges, right? So do visit our website as well, both at the school and also at the university, where there are information and guidances on where you could look for different type of financial aid that would be relevant for your own situation. But if you're unclear on anything, my colleagues and myself are always here to sort of address some of your concerns. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's very reassuring. But maybe we pivot a bit. So imagine a student that doesn't know anyone in medicine and they step into Yonge Lin for the first time. What is their day in their life? What can they expect? Maybe clinical student first. What's a day in their life?
So as in an M1 level or
M3.
M3 level. M3. If you don't know anyone. So okay, so a day in the life of an M3 student when we start clinical practice would be well, first your you have different postings. So we have four to five postings in M3. Your posting before it starts, there will be a 1 week of front-loading lectures. So just 1 week of lectures that can be attended online. Sometimes they're in person. And the real day-to-day thing is that you go over to a hospital. Depending on the posting you're in, you can have morning rounds. So you have to attend morning rounds as early as 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m. And you will shadow a doctor that goes to the patients and discusses the cases. After that, you can have tutorials scheduled for you, or you can ask the doctors on your own that you want a tutorial, you want to learn something in that subspecialty. And the doctors in Singapore are generally very kind, very nice, and they will go off their way to teach you. Yeah. But other than that, there are scheduled tutorials. And lastly, another thing you can do is you can actually just go around the hospital and talk to patients that you want to talk to. Most of us in internal medicine or in general surgery, we are given access to the wards. So you can see, if you're ever admitted in a hospital, touch wood, I hope not, but if you're ever admitted there, you can see medical students just going around different beds and just talking to patients and asking them what brought them in, how they are, if everything is okay. Yeah. And that is a huge chunk of what we do in clinical years, just to learn more about patients.
So it seems like you have to take charge of your learning, and that connection is really important with faculty. So maybe Dr. Christie, as a clinician that teaches students, how's kind of the relationship, or how do you all try and support the students learning from you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that point. I think I think coming to university will be different, definitely, from pre-university education. I think there's a lot more autonomy in terms of making decisions with your time, right? In terms of how much you want to study, like what Harpreet said earlier, how much depth is required of me at this point, or can I allow it to recur in due time? I think for my work in the clinical wards itself, in the hospitals, I definitely do teach students by the bedside. So a lot of times I think it's a lot of, I would say, small group teaching sessions. I always tell my students, I think you guys know to call me by my name, but of course it's still difficult. And really I want them to be able to ask any questions. I would say that the learning really comes the most fruitful for them when they actually see the patients, generate some ideas as well as questions, and then just feel free to just shoot me any question. I think my students will usually say that, you know, my most common statement that I'll say is that there's no such thing as a silly question. Just feel free to ask anything. But of course, you know, if you already have the answer to your question, give it a try as well. And there's no such thing as a wrong question as well. Just feel free to ask anything. From year 1 and year 2, I do have quite a bunch of mentees as well. So I think that, you know, that idea that you were saying that if you come into medical school and you have this place is completely foreign to me, I will say that those are the structures that we have put in place to make sure that every student will have someone that they can talk to. With my mentees, you know, I'm absolutely informal. Again, I think this batch of year 1 actually did call me by my first name after pushing them a few times, but I really want them to be able to tear down all the ice and as well as break down all the walls in terms of asking questions, whether or not it could be, you know, difficult questions or questions that is challenging me as an educator on how we can do things better. So I think that's the best way to get support. I think our students in year 1 also have houses. So I'm sure you guys know. So I think houses is the first kind of contact point where they actually can immediately form meaningful connections as well. Yeah. Then of course, with the social life that you engage in and you choose to engage in, you will definitely have more support. And I think all these different layers of support is going to be there. Last is that when students actually want to do activities that would require the support from the Dean's office or from the Office for Students, we are always more than happy to meet them. So I think we kind of do like, I wear many hats, and also I think a lot of faculty try their best to go down to the level of the students to try to see things from the students' perspective. Yeah.
I think that's an important question, you know. So Jeremiah, you know, I know you're the moderator, but I'm not going to let you run away with that question. Because, you know, as a YouTuber, obviously there are more people who know you than you know them, right? You know, and what's your own experience? I mean, when you came into this place, and I think this is especially relevant. Why? Because I think some of you may have the notion that, you know, medical schools you know, most of the students are from certain sort of background, certain sort of school, certain sort of track. And you might feel like, oh, you know, because I don't belong to any of those, and maybe I'll be lonely, maybe let's not try it, right? Maybe I don't belong to this community. And I think today's session is very important to dispel that myth and that notion, right? And I thought, like I said, more people know you than you know them, right? So what is your own experience?
I guess for context, because I came from the polytechnic background, so I mean generally the numbers are lesser than our JC counterparts. But okay, so when you first come into school, obviously you feel a bit of imposter syndrome. Oh no, I'm a poly student. Can I compete against these other students? But then the first thing you realize is there's no need to compete. We're not competing against one another. We're competing against the disease that we'll face in the future and how do we help our patients. So long as you understand that hey, there's a reason why you're here and trust that the school chose you for a reason, that really matters. And then meeting the students, I think it's really quite chill. Like for example, Harpreet and I, we didn't actually meet in Singapore. The first time we met was in Nepal on a student exchange under med school. So it's like the craziest, where you meet someone. And Harpreet came from JC, he came from AC. So it's like totally different schools, but you meet and then you understand that hey, your past doesn't matter anymore. We're all NUS med students now. We're all going to be doctors one day. And yeah, I think it's really nice.
Yeah. And I met Jeremiah when I go to his YouTube channel. So you never meet me, but I meet you. Okay, sorry, back to you.
But yeah, so I guess really, especially maybe I can speak to the poly students that are watching here, a personal interest in that. You really don't have to worry. I actually implore all of you to apply. You bring a very different perspective to medical school that your JC counterparts may not have. And I think it's really important that we have a voice in it and how we can care for patients in the future. So please apply. So I guess we're running a bit short on time, but I know some students are wondering, what is the school looking out for? Or maybe your advice to people that want to become doctors or to come in. What would you all say? Maybe a short 2-3 lines.
Wow, that one. I'm known as a professor who cannot stop talking, so there's nothing short. So maybe we hear from Harpreet and Christy, Dr. Christy.
Me first? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what schools are looking for? Okay, what the school is looking for, I cannot
What do you
exactly
think
say.
we were looking for?
What do you have to offer?
I'm not going to recite my personal statement out here. No, but I think a lot of students when we were at the interview area, they were all very stressed. We were all wondering how should we be portraying ourselves? Should we be extremely formal? Should we avoid talking about medical areas? Because I had one friend who tells me the story. Sometimes interviewers can be scary. I heard from her, she used the term quadriplegic during her interview process because she was helping out somewhere regarding it. And the interviewer then asked her, what's the difference between paraplegics, quadriplegics, and hemiplegics? And of course, not being in medicine at that point, she was unable to answer.
Let's know who's the...
I know the student. Yeah, I know the student.
No, the interviewer.
Yeah, the interviewer, I'm not sure. But the thing is, she still did get into medicine. And I think it was her ability to say that I don't know. Right? Her ability to say that I use the term because I helped this particular group. But she was calm and she was relaxed. And she said, there are certain things that I don't yet know, but I will be looking out for them. I will go and read up on them and I will learn more. And that desire to learn more, I think, is what interviewers look out for. For my personal interview, I think the interviewers were a lot more relaxed, thankfully, and they spent most of the time discussing stuff outside of what I had, outside of my academic achievements, or academic-related things that I had done, like research. Because in my JC, I started with my friends a CCA involving 3D printing and laser cutting, and the interviewers were very, very interested in how I got into that aspect and what drove me to that. And they spent a lot of time discussing my motivations there. And I think what they're trying to look out for is your hobbies outside and who you are as a person and what motivates you, more so than how much you scored for your exams or how many research papers you have done. So my best advice for people that are applying and are hoping to get in is to just be yourself and be completely relaxed. And don't overstress yourself to the point that you can't speak when you're there. You want to be able to communicate properly. And it's a conversation, not an interview. That's the best thing I can say.
I think you really covered a lot of aspects, and maybe because of the interest of time, we do have to mention the new curriculum. So we do have someone on standby, so year one. So maybe we can pull the year one in right now to talk about the new curriculum, just real quick, like if we just scoot over.
I love that look.
Yeah, so we have Munieshka here. She's a year one student. So briefly, can you just tell us how your new experience has been for the curriculum?
Hi everyone. So yes, we are the first batch that's going to the new curriculum. So I would say it's kind of a trial and error because it's not only are we the first ones taking it, it's the first time for the profs as well. But I would say that the profs are very open to feedback. And so after you finish every module, they'll ask us what could they have done better. And I guess it's a way of us all trying to improve the system so it gets better from now on. So I would say now it's already really good, and I do understand where they're coming from, because now we get to see not only normal but abnormal at the same time. And I guess it's easier for us to draw relations since we're learning them at the same time. But yeah, I would say it'll just get better from now on. Not that it's good now, it just get better. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how it's going to change from now on. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Anything to add, doctors?
No, nothing to add.
I mean, I'm just very happy. Right? And I think my bosses and my colleagues are all very happy. But if I may, I know we're in the interest of time, but circling back to that earlier question, I think Monishka, please add on as well, because you're just fresh off admissions.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I can't agree more with Harpreet to just be yourself when you apply, and do not try to think what we are thinking or what we are looking for. Why do we say that now? Other than the fact that because we read thousands of these, hundreds, if not thousands of these, and we know it's like, we don't want, put yourself in our shoes, right? We read the same thing, hundreds and thousands, then how are you going to stand out as well? I think that's one. But the more important thing is that actually, I think by being yourself, you are being fair to yourself. Actually, you're being kind to yourself, you're honoring yourself. And, I use the analogy of a marriage, right? Do not try to be someone who you are not, in trying to get together with your future spouse or your partner, because it will never lead to anything. You will never lead to true happiness and joy. So if you're not yourself, right? If you're not being yourself, and you somehow still manage to get into medical school, I think you're doing yourself sometimes a disservice, because you might actually find that this is not who you are. This is not where your talents or your skills are best put to use. And you're going to spend a whole, not 5 years, but more than that, living something that, a purpose that perhaps you could have been called to something else. So I think the fundamental is not about the school, but the fundamental about being yourself is going back to yourself. Be true and be kind and be fair to yourself.
Yeah, I think my main thing to add, I completely agree with what everything has been said. I think I will be mainly looking out for people who truly, they truly have thought through what medicine is about for them, and also how they are going to contribute to medicine. And I think that would shine through, just being yourself, I think, and being authentic, and staying, like what Harpreet said, staying as calm and being present during the process, because I think the interviewers are trained to be able to see that through. And I think all of us are nervous, like we are all nervous when we go for interviews and stuff, but try your best to be yourself during the interview process, because I think that would be very useful.
Yeah, so just a caveat, right? In case everyone thinks that by being yourself, you're going to get in. I mean, the reality is that by being yourself, that doesn't mean that you're going to get in. But then you see, the good thing is that it doesn't mean that by being yourself and you didn't get in, it means that you're any lesser. It just means that actually together, you and I, as a school and you, we've gone through a process where we help you to actually realize the true skills, talents, and your worldviews and values and beliefs and everything, that and to sort of say, your purpose is probably much better served in another field, right? There is no much better or no much lesser than medicine. So I think that's what we hope to achieve.
I think that really wraps up on a very nice note. I mean, please do join us at NUS, and you get medical knowledge and even dating tips from Prof. So I think that's really nice. So I guess we can now move on to the next section. So we would like to invite another doctor on, and we'll pivot to student life. So maybe I can thank Dr. Christie and Harpreet.
Thanks, Christie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Harpreet.
Yeah, so in the meantime, do send in any questions you have. I mean, the QR code's on screen again. Do send in all the questions about student life in particular. And yeah, let's begin the session with maybe getting Dr. Blanche to introduce yourself.
Hello, hi everybody, I'm Blanche. I'm a house mentor with NUS, and I also lead one of the project groups called Pulse Sensitivity. In addition, I'm an eye doctor. Specifically, I specialize in the area of oculoplastic surgery. Yep.
Very cool. And maybe you can get Monishka to properly introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Monishka. I'm a year 1 medical student, yeah. Okay.
All right, so maybe because I know this personally, so Moni and I, we both stay on campus. So we both stay at Tembusu College. So maybe you want to speak to some of the student life activities we have around campus.
Okay, I would say, now since we're moving out of COVID, I would say sports have become a lot more it's become a apparent part of student life. And so now, so we kind of have competitions here and there where we play against different faculties. And so I would say now we're kind of ramping up our sport. And so we get to play different types of sports with our friends. And I would say that's a good avenue to get to know other people as well. Because I'll say before starting to play all these sports, I didn't really know a lot of people. And I met them through playing with each other, like after school. And so I'll say that life has become a lot more than just studying and trying to do well for your exams. Because life is a lot more than that. School, you're not just here to study. Because the people that you're with are going to be people that you're going to meet for the rest of your lives. Like in school, like our profs mention our friends, as they refer to them as colleagues. And so it gets us very like, ugh. But then like it does remind us that yeah, you're going to be with these people for a long time. And so it does matter how your relationships are with them and how you choose to maintain that bond with them. So I would say, yeah, student life is
Maybe more than colleagues, you guys could be our bosses.
Yeah. Teacher, very careful what we say now.
So I think it's really nice hearing the student perspective, especially because personally I'm part of the medical society. We do try and put up games, that allow our students to bond. But maybe for people that are moving on and maybe stepping outside of medicine, being someone that's been in medicine for so long, how do you maintain your personal identity and do some of the stuff you still like while balancing work?
I think it's important to always remember what you are here for and what is your priority in life. There is a certain saying that I like to go by. He's no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. And I operate by that principle. And so with everything in life and everything hurtles at you, I think it's important to weigh what you value in life first. So for me, it's not just the things I love doing at work, it's also the friends I keep and the activities that I love to do. So I think that's also very important. There will always be a lot of things arguing for your time and having a little bit of this and that. But if you know what you value most, and you always weigh that and you think to yourself, this is most important to me at this point in time and this is most critical, then you'll never lose sight of what you should be doing. Yeah.
So actually, to a question to Prof Chen now. So being a prof that designs curriculum as well, being involved in that process, how do you all imagine a typical student's life would be? Like what extracurricular student study schedules, especially because you have a house. So what do you see your students do or what do you hope your students can?
Okay, disclaimer, when you say I have a house, he's referring to the house. Not like a house, right? So yeah, I do run a hostel called Lighthouse. So maybe we find out more. Sorry, shameless plug there. Yeah, I think when we design the curriculum, it is really about finding that balance, right, between learning what you need to learn to be that competent and effective doctor that you need to be, but also making sure that the learning is actually fun and enjoyable and meaningful, and that it's supposed to give opportunities for your personal life, your social life, and even your interests and your hobbies to actually blend in, right? Because we recognize that our students actually have many gifts. You're not just here because you're good in one thing, right? Many of you could have other gifts, and it's not necessarily the ones that we always know, like sports, music, or art, but there could be many others, like the gift of helping others, the gift of even presenting like this, right? Like where do you even compartmentalize this? So I think the curriculum is designed to take this into account, and that's sort of I would also say it was aligned with NUS broader educational philosophy, where increasingly NUS is moving towards a sort of blending between academic and non-academic, whereby we want to say that sometimes the best learning are not always in the classroom, in our case, theatres or wards, but also in many non-academic activities like Monishka mentioned, the sports that she do, right, and the campus living where she is, as well as Dr. Blanche, right, the sort of community project that she leads with animals and for therapy and all the different things. Yeah, so please, again, I can't say enough to do justice. You do need to spend 5 years here to actually find out more.
Yeah, and explore your interests, and do it and deal with it with your mentors. Should you come in with us, and we'll try to explore that and see how we can develop it into something that can transform healthcare for the future, maybe the next new thing, on the block.
I'd love to make a quick pivot here. So one question here really jumps out to me. So I guess a lot of us have read in the news recently, MOH really pushing for more mental health and having physicians trained in that field as well. So the question here is, how do we support students' mental health in the school and well-being? So maybe if I just quickly jump out first from a student perspective, we have a lot of systems built in place. So we have house mentors, we have counselors. So counselors are a system where there's a senior student tagged to every junior student, and they're kind of your buddy that helps you get through school. And then you have your mentors. So a lot of mentors are here today actually. So they take a few students and they guide you through. And it's about, hey, I'm a doctor. I've been through this, so how can I help you get through this process? So I think that's really nice. But maybe on the broader side, we can get the faculty to comment about it.
Would you like to go first?
Oh, I need to call Dr. Christie.
Oh, is that called SOS, is it?
Yeah, so I think any student mental health or well-being is extremely important to us. I cannot say any more. I'm a pediatrician, so I actually do look after youths as well. So it's very much in my passion to make sure that all our youths in Singapore, and definitely our NUS students, and definitely our NUS Med students are healthy in all ways and all aspects now. Yeah. So how we think about it, seriously, is that I think even in the curriculum planning, I don't sit in the curriculum design, but we always try to have crosstalk between all the different departments, and the idea of, is this going to add too much stress to our students? Are our students resilient enough to manage all this? How are our students going to manage like their social life? How are they going to have time to actually participate in things that they really want to? How do we give them the choice? How do we put the ball in their court so that they know that if they are motivated to pursue something, that we will support them as much as we can? Yeah. So I think it's almost in our blood. I mean, me and Blanche, we do a lot of student advisory work. And a lot of times you will see us saying that, actually the ball is in your court. We are ready to support you as long as you're ready to take the first step out. Yeah. And then really, it's not like we want them to fall in their first few steps. We don't want them to fall. But if we think that falling a little bit is actually going to help them grow better, then we may be supporting there. It's just that they don't see us supporting there, but we let them fall or we let them fail to a certain extent so that they can actually grow from it. And that's the truth, because the truth is when you become a doctor, you are bound to fail. Yeah, it's real life, it's reality. There's no one medicine that can fix everything. There's no one doctor who can fix anything. Yeah. So we want them to experience that very early so that when they actually see it happening, I think it's not so bad. The other piece, which I think Blanche can add as well, is something that we have introduced, I think just 2 years, which is what we call the Enrich workshops, where we really touch on things that are really not so tangible. So it's no longer about teaching you anatomy of the arm, anatomy of the brain, or how the chemistry of the Krebs cycle work, no longer that. We literally come to a smaller group, right, in the house, and we discuss about things like success and failure. We become vulnerable, and we share about our own success and failure and how we make sense of that. And then hopefully that resonates with our students, and then we ask them to share as well about their life and stuff. Yeah, so don't know whether Blanche will add anything to that.
No, I have to agree. Actually, what I feel is even I have learned a lot from it. And I think that the curriculum has changed over the years in that way. We have tried to bring forward a lot of things that we would usually just learn as you go along. As you fail, you learn how to pick yourself up, or a senior tells you have to do this so that you can be better for your next patient. But now we bring it so early on to help you manage difficult conversations. What happens if you face a very difficult senior, for example, or a difficult patient, or a difficult patient's family? Then what are your thought processes? Or even a very difficult situation, how do we deal with that? And these are all the very intangible things that they don't really tick the boxes. But actually, we hope that many years later, should you run into this situation, it's something that you realize, oh, actually, it's something that we have talked about before and we have managed before together as a team. And this is something that I can face better and more bravely. With regards to mental health, I guess, a lot of times, a lot of the students we mentor come to us and they ask us, actually, Dr. Blanche, I don't know what's next in store for us. There's so many changes, right? And so many things on the horizon that I cannot deal with it. And that's why we face a lot of questions about, I cannot deal with uncertainty. But that's how life is, right? And that's the excitement of life. But our hope is when we bring in all these elements to help you cope with the uncertainty, life becomes more exciting, but we'll build those building blocks to help you out. Because the truth is, you don't know what the next 5 years will bring. Already, the healthcare that we are facing has hurdled through so many generations and so many degrees of change that maybe 5 to 10 years later, we're talking about something entirely different altogether. And we want to do that to help you all to walk through that crevice or that gap when it happens.
What's your experience?
Okay.
Your thoughts?
For mental health, I'll say that right now, since mental health is becoming a lot more, everyone is open about talking about it. And so us as students, we are also okay with talking, bringing it up and talking with our friends. And so I'll say that we're also a bit more conscientious about looking after our own mental being. And we know that we're not just here to do work. And we also, so we spend a lot of time with our friends. We confide in each other. We talk to our seniors, our profs. And we do take that effort to just distance ourselves with the work that we have to do, just so that we can take care of ourselves, so that in the future we'll be better doctors for our patients as well.
Yeah. So before we kind of move on to the next one, there's one group that I would really like to address and sort of maybe say we would even want to partner. Going back to the mental health piece, I think here to kind of define it a little bit, scope it, I think we're talking about certain things like anxiety because, of so many things I have to do. Everybody is so good. We're talking about things like burnout, and even FOMO, for example, right? Thinking about stress, probably not to the extent where we're talking about someone who's clinically depressed, right? Where you really need medical intervention and support. Now, so on the former category, I think my view is, maybe I summarize to say that we broadly divide it into two, right? How you perceive ourselves, right? How we perceive ourselves with respect to the world, with respect to others, with respect to myself, right? What are my expectations? I think on this first category, the school, like what Dr. Chrissy has mentioned, has a lot of processes, programs that are either built into curriculum or outside the curriculum. Even the mentoring, for example, there are mentors, faculty who dedicate certain time to meet their students, right, regularly over coffee, even in places like this, right, to talk about everything under the sun. So that's sort of the one approach among others. But then I think there's also the external part. When we say how students perceive themselves with respect to others and the external world, that's where I think the mental health piece needs a partnership with the stakeholders from the entire village. And right now, I think the village that we think about typically are the professors, the administrative staff, the university counseling services, and all this. But actually, there's one group that we hope we can partner with, and that's actually, I believe, in this particular podcast, or as young people call podcast, right? I'm sure parents are watching in as well. And I think that as parents, you are a very important piece in this. And so as a school, I think there's a lot we can do together to work together, to partner, and to sort of really ensure the well-being of your children and our students. Yeah.
Fully agree.
So I guess a huge part of supporting ourselves is also just having different ways to express ourselves, different activities. So because I guess I know Moni personally, I know you're involved in a lot of stuff. So you're quite busy. So do you want to share some of the stuff that students can do in school, whether it's OSIPs or like REC? Can you explain what these things are?
Oh, okay. Okay, so let's start with community projects. So there's both local community projects where you serve the Singapore population, different aspects of them. And so doctors in charge of Project Positivity, so they partner with dogs and then they work with mental health.
Yeah.
Dogs and mental health, yeah, that's one aspect. And then there's overseas community projects. So I'm in a project called Project Sotia, and so we serve villages overseas. And so apart from community involvement projects, there are also things like, okay, I've already mentioned sports. There's sports. What else?
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay, I am part of REC. So in NUS, there's something called REC and Flex. So it's like a fundraising project. And so there's two aspects of it. One is REC, which is the performance aspect. So each faculty will put up a big performance to try and raise funds for the beneficiary that NUS is working with. And then there's a Flex aspect. So I'm part of REC this year. Yeah, so there's...
I think we can take pride in our REC.
Yes.
We have a legacy of how many years of getting a gold award. So I think it's something that we take pride in. And
Okay, stress really,
Get to the benchmark.
I guess the key point is, we do take what we do outside of medicine very seriously.
Yeah.
We do cherish all the things that students do. So even in medical society, we put on performances every year. You would think medical students are just bookworms that study, but no, we got people that can act, people that can sing, people that can play instruments, people that do ballet, they do a lot of things. So yeah, it's
Not
really
even
quite cool.
students benefit. In fact, thanks to Dr. Blanche and her students, I'm supposed to bring my dog for an interview to be a healthcare worker. So we're going there straight after this. So I think what we're saying is that we have a community that really works well together, and we enjoy our each other's presence and supporting each other. Yeah.
So I guess the overseas aspect is something that is ringing quite heavily in here as well. So as a year 2 student, I haven't had the chance to go overseas yet for electives, but maybe the profs can talk about a bit of the overseas electives. A fun fact, I know some students or some friends that are going to places like Uganda or Paris for their exchange, so you really can go anywhere you want. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe I will just describe briefly 3 main overseas opportunities. Traditionally, I think our students will go for electives, whereby they can go to other medical schools, right, to learn other specialties and postings, or even on cultural visits. And in fact, some of our students also go overseas for farming, for example, right? I heard that's a thing now, it's very popular. The second ones that are newer, our students actually now between their 4th and their 5th year, they have the opportunity to take a gap year, right? To maybe not overseas, but to do a sort of another degree, a master's degree, perhaps in research, in public health, in biomedical informatics, and also we are working with overseas partners where students potentially may be able to do a master's in a partner university overseas. All right, and the third, actually, again, something that's very new. If our students nowadays take the elective period, not just to do clinical. Some of them have in fact, one of them recently came back who did a 3-month sort of an entrepreneurship with NUS, very popular and flagship program called the NUS Overseas College, where we know that some of our students have certain interest in entrepreneurship, in medtech and all that stuff. So again, recognizing that our students are diverse and they have different giftings, and we want to diversify our programs to sort of make sure that their giftings are better expressed and better served. Yeah. So maybe add on.
In fact, I think the main project director for pulse sensitivity, who has a history in veterinary science, is going to do a 1-month stint with an elephant farm in Thailand to further his interest in marrying both animal care as well as transformative healthcare in terms of animal intervention and assisted activities for our population here. So there is a wealth of things that you can do as well. And apart from that, we have also the STEER program, which I think will also be covered if you check in our in-person open house next week. And this is an opportunity where we design a curriculum and exposure program where you go out and see things that you otherwise wouldn't do on a tourist program, but it enables you to open your eyes to the culture, what is being done, and the diversity of things that you can do potentially when you contribute and when you graduate as well, whether it's agricultural, as you mentioned, whether it's in terms of entrepreneurship, or whether it's exploring the history of medicine in a certain culture in a village and seeing the way of life and how people have adapted. And that's one of those opportunities that will be open to all our students as well.
Yeah, and maybe just one more thing to add, we bring our students overseas, but we also try to bring the overseas to you, right? And what we have done, explored recently, is also to increase the sort of diversity among our student pool, right? We have students, for example, who are here on certain type of, again, we have overseas medical students here on electives, on exchange, spending a varied periods of time. And these are also opportunities for our students to actually learn firsthand from their counterparts from different countries about how medicine is practiced and how healthcare systems are in different countries.
But of course, there's also another area you can go overseas to experience, and these are conferences. So if you come in and you partner with your professors or your clinical tutors in education or an area that you're very interested in, and there tends to be a conference in 1 or 2 locations that you're interested in, you can go together and you can listen in to what's being done in the face of healthcare in a certain area today. Yeah. And that's one of the opportunities as well.
Excited already?
I mean, just 2 weeks ago, Prof and I were actually in Bangkok together. We were doing something.
Oh, yeah.
We're not just saying it's actually true. Yeah, we actually go. Yeah, so I guess, I'm not sure whether people are sold on NUS yet, but I guess just to throw the tough question to you all, what do you think is the NUS difference, or why should people come here?
Why did you come here?
Yeah, why?
Actually, when it comes to this, I truly think that it's a very personal opinion. I feel like you should go to every school and experience what it's like being in the environment, talking to the students, talking to the faculty, and seeing if what they offer you resonates with you. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that's going to be here for a long period of time. And if you're not comfortable with where you are, then then I guess it may not be the right place for you. Everywhere you go, they're going to offer you quality education. And so I feel that when you choose where you want to go, you should really ask yourself truly, don't be really influenced by what other people have to say, because at the end of the day, you're going to meet a lot more new people wherever you go. And so you should really take your own considerations at heart and think about where you think you would fit in. NUS is definitely a wonderful place. I'm happy I chose here, because it could just be a gut feeling as well. For me, it was truly a gut feeling to come here, and I'm happy I trusted my gut. So yeah, you should sometimes just need to take that step, just jump in, and then you surprise yourself. Yeah.
What about you? Why did you choose us? How long?
Oh.
Not too long ago.
I didn't have much options. I'm still very young. But I agree. I think it's very important to explore your options and see what the culture is like, the different locations, how the open houses are, and see what the setup of the place is, and listen to each curriculum. Everyone has something different to offer. And I think the diversity of the NUS curriculum is really something that will be very scary to some people, but actually that's also where you grow the most.
Yeah.
When you are most adventurous to explore, and that's where you take that leap to really grow and mature and really see the world before the world comes upon you.
Yeah. Maybe I have 3 points to add, I would say. I completely agree with all that has been shared. I think choose a school that, number 1, resonates with your learning style. Number 2, choose a school that you can identify with the vibes and the atmosphere. Third, I think when you choose a school, you're not just in a medical school, you're actually in a larger university. I think it's actually very important to ask yourself whether the larger NUS community is where you want to be, right? So I use an analogy of Jeremiah, Unishka, right, as well as Harpreet. They all came from different schools, different backgrounds, different track, from Poly, from JC, from IB. But you see, they all achieved the same outcome, to be here today. So I hope, I hope through the analogy, you can actually see what we are trying to get at. Yeah.
I think as we almost start wrapping up, I just want to implore everyone to send in any last minute questions you all have, any burning questions. This is your chance to, or you can just come next weekend to a physical open house. But I guess one on a sweeter note, how does everyone maintain relationships with your loved ones outside of medicine or maybe friends? Maybe the married people can go first. The single ones will keep quiet. I think the single ones will just keep quiet on this question.
No, but you have your loved ones and your friends.
Yeah, parents also very important.
Yes,
So
I think it's very important to acknowledge that as well. They're also your loved ones. Yeah. Maybe
you go first.
Me first. Okay, so I think it's for me, my friends actually adopt me first, and so they always make it a point to catch up with me. They check in on me as well, and I do the same for them. And I think it's also important to recognize that not only your loved ones who are your family, immediate family, but your friends are also important to ground you. And that has given me a broader perspective on life. It doesn't always have to be work. So what we do is we always check in, even the friends that I've studied with through medical school from about 10 years back. We're always trying to make it a point to meet up, and then we'll check in on each other, even through social media. Those are little areas that we can do to really check in on each other and really protect that time. That time is sacred. And when you do that, you realize you can do that a lot better as well.
Unishka?
Yes, for me, I stay on campus, so I only go back on either Friday nights or Saturday mornings. And so, having said that, that makes the time I spend with my family a lot more precious. And I would say that even though in school I have so many things going on, I'm meeting so many new friends, it's important not to forget your family and people who have been there for you since the very start. And so I would say that it's very important to treasure whatever time you have, no matter, it could be a very short time, you go back for lunch, go back for dinner, but I think that time spent is really important because they've been with you throughout the entire journey. But at the same time, I have friends from JC who have been with me since the very start, and so we also try to meet every Wednesday, go out for lunch or something, just to make sure you keep track of those relationships that you had from a long time, and not just build on the ones that you've just formed in school.
I think one tip that I practice, which I'll share with you, you can see if it works. I think it's important to categorize the things that you have to do into 2 baskets. One is the thing that you have to do, no choice one. If you have a shift, you have a shift, right? You have a deadline, you have a deadline. So that we don't need to talk about. But I think there's the other category of things that maybe you don't have to do it right now, I think it's important because sometimes, a lot of people actually tend to say, let me finish all this work, and then whatever time I have, I'll spend with the family and friends. But on the other hand, I would strongly, I practice is that for this more flexible work, I would say, the immovable rocks are my family and the friends, right? Together with the work that I cannot shift. And I said, let me spend time with my friends and my family. And then when I have time, I will get to this sort of work that are more flexible. Now, some of you might think, oh, maybe I don't work very hard, I'm not effective and all that. Well, that's for my bosses to judge. But I would say at the end of the day, frankly, from my experience looking at students and colleagues, not myself, I've seen that these students are actually more effective. These colleagues are actually more effective. And they're actually overall, able to be more joyful as well. So I would say, strongly prioritize, do these two categories, and then put what are immovable rocks in your life. So as a matter of fact, I was sharing with Jeremiah, I'm incredibly sleep deprived because I slept at 2 a.m. yesterday, having friends over, right, as well. But of course, I know 2 a.m. is nothing for 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. Jeremiah, but what about you? You how you balance?
I guess it's about the concept of priority. I know it's quite standard to say, but it's what are important to you and what are not. I have this belief to some extent that things you can control, there's no such thing as you don't have enough time. It's whether it's important enough to you. So if the people are important enough to you, you'll find time and you have to make time for them.
Absolutely.
So that's a principle I live by. Yeah. So I guess if there is no other questions, we have one to kind of end off with. But maybe before that, one question that people are getting is about interviews. So I know interviews is touchy. We sign NDAs that we cannot disclose. But in general, let's talk about interviews for 1-2 minutes. Interviews will be the most scary day of your life, maybe. It's a moment that you've kind of prepared for. I remember cliche, but I stood so in our med building, we have the Hippocratic Oath. So the day of my interview, I stood there, I read it, I was like getting inspired by the Hippocratic Oath before my interview. But yeah, maybe you can talk about interviews and kind of the perspective going in and what you're looking out for.
I'm glad you didn't decide to memorize it.
No chance.
So I think for an interview, what's most important is you remember why you wanted to do medicine. And remember what your priorities are and your values are. And like what Prof. Chen shared just now, I think it's very important to have that expressed. Make it something that you are eloquent enough to verbalize so that we understand you in a very short period of time. Because you think you'll know how to say it, but you don't really know until you really have to bring it to the table. And we want to be able to recognize you for what you really believe in at your very core, without misunderstanding you. So I think it's very important to think through and think, how would you express yourself about what you're truly passionate about so that we can see that in you as well. And I think that's quite important.
Lisha?
I'll say that you could try, like people going in, they may try to predict, what could they possibly ask you? But honestly, once you step in, you really don't know what they're going to throw at you. And the questions are sometimes you will never ever expect. So I think it's really important to have a good understanding of yourself, why you're doing the things you're doing, and really know yourself to the core so that no matter what they throw at you, the answer that you're giving is truly it's from your heart and it's genuine. And you know that, so I think it's really important to know yourself and come in for the right reasons. A lot of people are here for many different reasons. Some are here just to try. But ultimately, those who are genuine and know why they're here and know that this is for them, I would say that they are the ones that really shine, and it can be seen from the interviewers as well. Sure.
I think maybe I'll just speak for myself and my personal experience sitting on the other side of the table most of the time. I think I'm not here to sort of listen to a valedictorian speech or a sort of Toastmaster session, right? I think I really want to have a conversation with you, really want to know you. And I would actually say that some sessions that I had have been the most life-transforming for myself. And some sessions have deeply touched my life and impacted me. I'm not sure about the outcome. I don't know whether they got it in the end. But it did make a difference in my life. And so that's from where I'll leave you to sort of unpack that for yourself. But that's at least how I would like to experience my session with the candidates. Yeah.
I think this lends nicely into our final question for today. How does one student really know that this is for them, for someone applying? There's a lot of on-the-fence people. Some may be influenced by parents or whatever, but how do they know this is the calling that's for them?
Before they apply or after they apply?
Before they apply. After a bit too late.
No, never too late.
Because after you apply, right, and you're being true to yourself, and you were unsuccessful, that means this is not for you. And you have found this out. What a wonderful revelation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But before you apply, that one needs some thinking.
Maybe Monisha, how about you? Since you're the closest to the decision-making process.
I'll say between the time where we finish our pre-uni education and once you enter uni, there's a bit of time there. I would say use that time wisely to try and discover your options and see what you could possibly do, because medicine is one of the options that are commonly thrown around in Singapore, but there are a lot more other things that you could possibly look into, and I would say that use that time very wisely to go and see what could possibly be an option for you. Because even though medicine is one of the options that's laid out, if it's not for you, it's not for you. This is not something you should force yourself to try and think, maybe later on I'll end up liking it. If from the start you think that this may not, if you have a little tinge of doubt, I would say that really look at it seriously and think about it, because it's it's good to identify from the start if you don't think this is for you, because it's a very long road. So yeah, I would say explore your options wisely, because there's a lot of options and you have time to do it.
How about you, Jeremiah? Do you have any doubts in your plight?
Oh,
Is this for me?
I think I was quite
YouTube star.
fortunate to know that I was really wanted medicine. So I known it for quite some time, and then I was quite certain that if I didn't get in the first time, I'll just keep trying and trying until I got in. So I think I was quite fortunate on that aspect. But in order how I got there, I think it was many years in the making. I didn't just one day wake up, I want to be a doctor. Yeah, my parents didn't push me; they would just let me explore by myself. I think that's quite important. Once you really explore everything and you ask yourself, what can I wake up doing every single day for the rest of my life? Because medicine is, you sign that doctor paper, it is your lifetime commitment. So yeah, that's my perspective on it.
Right? Anything to add?
Well, for me, I was kind of decided as well. But my kind of decided was because I really wanted to do a bit of humanitarian work here and there. And so the only payoff was an agreement that I would give this one go. And so I did it, and fortunately, I got in. Otherwise, I'd probably still be trying. But I think that the important thing is to find out if you have doubts. What kind of doubts are you having? Is it a doubt that questions, is this something that I want to put my time into? Is it worth my while? Is there something else that's competing with that doubt that you have? And if it's something that you probably feel a lot more passionate about, you're afraid that it's probably not a safe choice, then I think, maybe you should think about it a little bit more. But if it's a kind of doubt that says, I'm not sure, is medicine too hard for me? Is it something that I may not be able to surmount? In life, you always have insurmountable or perceived insurmountable challenges. And I think the thing about medicine is you're never journeying alone. It may feel very alone sometimes, but as you can already see, you have a huge community here who's ready to support you if you're willing to take that step forward. So I think even in doubts, you do have to measure what kind of doubt this is. And if you're ready to take that plunge, then be brave enough. And then as Prof. Chen has said, if it doesn't work out, that's also okay. It's always okay to say, no, I'm going to pivot.
Yeah.
Pivoting is also something quite cool nowadays.
Yeah. Actually, it's better that it doesn't work out like now than to don't work out like 5 years, 10 years later.
Oh, it still
But
can
that's still
happen.
okay. Trust me, it's still okay, right?
Yeah, it still can happen.
Yeah, so I'll probably just add, among all the good points that have been shared, I think number one, I know it's tough, even for us, but engage in a reflective process. And do that actually, I would say, with your loved ones, your friends, with your family members. And I would actually encourage parents to also, get into this process to reflect with your children, because through that reflective process, it will reveal to us the sort of beliefs, your values, your worldviews, and the sort of personality, right? There's no such thing as right or wrong personality, right? It doesn't mean that this personality is not suited for this, but it could be fantastic for something else. And whether your giftings are aligned to this and that or not. And Manishka brought a very good point, try different things and all this. I give you maybe tongue in cheek. I say, maybe your whole life you'll be interested in joining medicine. So maybe primary school, you already start preparing yourself. I don't know like how early people start these days, like preschool, you start preparing. And then you reach 19-year-old and you're like, voila, you passed everything, you're now in medical school. But then you realize that suddenly when you go out to work, you talk to your peers, you find out that actually, this is the only thing that I've always experienced in my whole life. I didn't realize that there was this, there was that, and actually I'm good in this and that, actually I love this and that more. Then how, right? So I say really expose yourself so that you make an informed decision what you really want, what you're not sure, and what you really cannot tolerate. Okay, but this applies only for studies and career. Okay, doesn't apply to marriage and dating. Okay, so yeah.
Wait, but hold that point.
Sorry, I'm old school.
Oh, no. But that said, I think a lot of people feel once I've graduated from medicine is all I can do. But I think once you get past that first hurdle, the world is your oyster.
Absolutely.
And in fact, there are many times where medicine has merit into many other different areas. And there does, you can also have the opportunity to explore and bring both together. We have people who are in medicine and also do photography. We have people who love IT work, for example, and now they're creating and playing with VR. And you've probably seen them in the news as well. We have friends who are very interested in designing data boards, for example, quite like the Tony Stark, the Iron Man of Avengers, right? And you have people who love inventing things, and for that you have our scientists. So really, I think medicine is just one doorway through which you step, and you may see all things online about how, there's always the scrummage around in hospitals, but once you get past that, actually, you can explore and do anything. You can, as long as you put your mind to it and you dream big enough.
True,
And I think
true.
this is the wonder of medicine.
Absolutely, I think that marriage is probably the only thing you need to be faithful. As with all other things in career, in the world that we live in, I completely agree with Blanche. Things are interdisciplinary, and people try different things in different time, or they try different things at the same time. So point well taken. Thank you very much.
And I guess with that, I really do hope that everyone has enjoyed their time here. Hope that we answer some of your questions. And feel free to continue sending the QR questions down below. The admissions team are actually in the background working really hard, answering all your questions. So they'll try their best and just sending whatever thoughts you have. Also, the applications for aptitude-based and standard scheme are closing, so do submit them quickly. We hope to join us here at Medicine. And if you have even more questions, you can come down next weekend, 9th of March, to NUS itself. Come and meet the faculty, come and meet some of the students, and hopefully you'll find out more and make your decision on why to join us. So thank you for joining us, and I guess we'll see you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.